Evening all, hope you're well. Welcome back to the final whistle. And another match preview then. A real 6-pointer as Leicester City visit Goodison Park at the weekend for the very last time ever, as Everton are due to move to the new stadium, which looks nice. So I'm going to be chatting with Stephen Hornby from the Toffee Blues. He's going to give me the lowdown on the Toffees then ahead of this weekend's clash in the Premier League. Obviously 6 points split these two sides. Everton in 16th, Leicester in 17th, and a win for the Foxes would drag Everton right back into this relegation battle, I'm sure. Guys, as always, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new and you haven't subscribed to the Final Whistle. Please get down and do so. It would help me out massively. Hello, Simon. How are you? The first one was a good idea, and then the third one was awesome. And then, Terry, how are you? Have you got some good news, Jack? Well, not on transfer latest, no, but Matt Hermanson could return to goal this weekend, and Wilfred Ndidi could be back next week, so massive positives for Leicester, but yeah, the negatives are we're not doing anything in this January transfer window, and it's bloody madness. Clibbo, how are you, pal? I hope you're good. Let's get my guest in, Stephen Hornby from the Toffee Blues. Stephen, how are you?
Hello, Jack. Thank you for having me on, mate.
I appreciate it. Stephen, let everybody know what you do at the Toffee Blues, mate.
Yeah, pretty much we just do, my sort of role at the Toffee Blues was opposition previews, so I'd speak to fans from whoever were playing that week. And of course, this is pretty much my bread and butter, really. But apart from that, we do, of course, at the minute, transfer videos, news videos, match reports. We do a lot of digital and online media. We do YouTube. We've got our own website. So there's a lot of fan channels in the Everton space, but we're thankfully now one of the biggest that we're constantly growing all the time.
Fantastic. Who's your all-time favourite Everton player?
Leighton Baines. It's not even a question for me. Tim Cahill's a close second, but Bainesy for me is just. See, the thing is, Jack, is I'll down this hill. He's the most underrated Premier League player of all time, I think. A lot of people talk a lot about Ashley Cole and Evra, but I think if you put Bainesy in that United or that Chelsea team, I think he's far better than both of them. He was playing in an Everton side that had good players, but never really had any superstars in, and he was absolutely top notch in most games he played for Everton. Of course, and as well as now under 18s manager at the club, and obviously took us in there on a caretaker basis in that game against Peterborough in the FA Cup as well. And thankfully, they've obviously for test events for the new stadium, they've organised it so the Everton under 18s are going to be playing against Wigan under 18s. So Leighton Baines will be the first Everton manager to walk out the tunnel at Bramley Moor.
Fantastic. What's your thoughts on the new stadium, Bramley Moor? I mean, you are going to be moving from Goodison Park after a very long time you spent at Goodison. I mean, it's going to be a whole different adventure for Everton, isn't it? But what's like your sort of targets moving forward with Everton? Obviously, the Premier League football. I mean, what do you expect from Everton, like moving forward and in the new stadium?
Acting like a big club would be the first thing I'd expect moving into the new stadium, and sort of carrying ourselves with a bit more malice and a bit more intent to do well every season. I feel like with how Goodison Park is now, there's a bit of a feeling if we just go into every season sort of knowing what to expect, and we sort of go into every season, it's pretty much same old, same old. So the new stadium, I haven't been inside there yet, but only in 2 weeks, I think it'll be the 17th, the first test event, I'll be there. So I'll be able to finally see inside it and see what it's all about. But I'm very impressed with how it looks. It was designed by Evertonians throughout a massive sort of 10-year process of us picking what we wanted, picking how we wanted it to look, how steep we wanted the stands to be, what sort of stuff we wanted in the concourses, and it looks perfect. It looks like just how we wanted it.
Fantastic. Big game at the weekend. Everton versus Leicester. 6-pointer. I mean, you said to me before we went on there that this is your biggest game of the season. I think I'd top you with that one as well. That I think this one could be Leicester's biggest game of the season. Last time these two sides met, though, in the Premier League would have been at the King Power Stadium. A 1-1 draw between the two sides as the rain come pouring down on the King Power Stadium pitch. Everton went into that game not really on great form, but Leicester, I'm sure, would have wanted to win the game. I think it was one that Steve Cooper had to win, but we failed to do so. But Everton, 1-1 draw, I think a point would have been superb for you on the run to end that losing run and that. And what do you take from the last game against Leicester at King Power Stadium into this game against the Foxes?
Well, I think that was our first point of the season, wasn't it? The game against Leicester at the King Power. I might be wrong. I know we beat Crystal Palace around that time as well. From that game, what I take is that this Leicester team is very different to the one that was last in the Premier League.
Yeah.
There's a lot more players in this one that I don't fear as much. And I know it's obviously different. It was Steve Cooper at that time, and a lot of Leicester fans really weren't taken with Steve Cooper the minute he came in. For me, I was looking at players, and there was a couple of players that I looked at and sort of looked at and thought, yeah, they could be the difference maker. Your Fatawus and your Mavridis and stuff. But from that game, I was expecting it to be a bit tougher, and I was expecting us to get turned over. And we didn't, because Leicester and the King Power Stadium's always been such a tough game. This one, to me, looked a bit more of a Leicester City side that had been in the Championship. And I was expecting Leicester to come up and take right back into the league, how they had done. And they didn't do that. So for me, I was very surprised that Leicester looked a bit unprepared earlier on in this season. I think now it's such a different set of circumstances. Having Ruud van Nistelrooy, players like Jamie Vardy, while they're always good, are aging. And from a Leicester point of view, I don't know how the confidence is going to be with each of the players. Especially coming away to Goodison Park when we're in good form. It's a little bit of a different set of circumstances than to what I would have been expecting going into this game a month ago. A month ago, I would have expected probably more of like an El Sacco type vibe of maybe Deitch versus Cooper and really both teams slugging it out, trying to just get points on the board. But now there's a lot more of a renewed feeling around the club with David Moyes that we've won 2 on the bounce now and we want to win a 3rd. So for me, I'm looking at the Leicester team and I'm thinking, who in that team is going to really grab the game by the scruff of the neck? And I know El Canus has had a good season. And, Ayu's always an experienced head. But I'm looking at it thinking, I mean, if you compare it, you look at Justin, Vestergaard, Fass, Samare. I'm looking at all these players and I'm thinking, I mean, it was 6, 7, 8 years ago. It was, your Kantes, your Mahrez, and then even going past that, Leicester always sort of seemed to sign players that fitted into the culture of the club. And I'm looking at it now thinking maybe these players, if they go on another bad run, might be looking at it a bit, The heads will drop very quickly, I think, but I think Leicester need to win this game more than us.
Yeah, this one's a big game for us. Obviously, we need to come back off that Tottenham win that we had last weekend. To go to Spurs and win 2-1, I mean, it gives Leicester confidence, obviously ending that 7 straight games to losing. So I think it gives the players a bit more enthusiasm going into this, bit more, we can go there and we can do something. Everton's a tough place to go, isn't it? Obviously, David Moyes has got them playing a different approach of football than what Sean Dyche did. Obviously, 2 different managers. You don't really know which side Everton would turn up. Obviously, Everton are doing well under Moyes, aren't they, since Dyche has left? Obviously, now, what was you before Leicester played Tottenham? About 9 points from the relegation dogfight. So I think is it 10 points, is it, from you to Wolves?
I'll take a look now. I did get the table up earlier. I think obviously this week we can go to it's 9 points at the minute between 7 points between us and Wolves and 6 points between us and yourself. So a win this weekend could be would be fantastic for us. And I think maybe like I said, I think this game's all about timing because for me, this is probably the wrong time to play Everton. That we're looking to go into games and winning them, and just picking up points now and get over the line and then start looking up in towards mid-table, which is very it's a really good feeling that we're looking up a little bit more towards the middle of the table than down there again, and that had been the case with us recently, and we basically just need to get to the end of the season now, I think.
Yeah, I think I'd say that for Leicester, to be fair, Stephen. I mean, the January transfer window has not been ideal for Leicester. I mean, I don't know what it's been like at Everton. I know you linked with, is it Charlie Alcaraz, who's played for Southampton, but Leicester's kind of gone with Woyo Koulibaly, who we've brought in. Rude wanted about 4 or 5 new players to come in, and he just doesn't seem happy with the lack of transfer business that's been done, the lack of backing to him this January transfer window, and I've always felt with Leicester that January would be make or break for us. We either bring players through the door that can fit the system, and Rude can work with them players, his own players, not the squad that he's had to deal with. Because he's not going to make these players world beaters. He's come into a tough job at Leicester, but yeah, if he doesn't get anybody in these next couple of days where the transfer deadline day is Monday, then you're thinking to yourself, is this Leicester squad good enough to stay up? Can it stay up? But it's a tough job. I mean, Steve Cooper was never the manager from the start. He was never the ideal appointment. Obviously, the fans never took to it, to be honest. And I think Graham Potter was the one that we looked at, but we never got. And then obviously he was linked with Everton, not long after Leicester. So it's been a tough case scenario at Leicester. And I think that win was much needed against Spurs, which I hope now can kick on our season. But Everton's a different approach to the Tottenham game. I know you guys are going to be missing, is it Calvert-Lewin and...
Calvert-Lewin and Mangala. Yeah, so Otto Mangala came in on loan this season from Lyon, and he's played really well, and he's been really important in that midfield. And then he's done his ACL in the game against Brighton. So unless he comes back on loan next season, it's looking like it's the end of his Everton career now. Calvert-Lewin again, that's another one that might have played his last ever game for Everton. If he does move on, won't be this.
Injured, didn't he, Calvert-Lewin?
Yeah, it won't be this window, but it might be the next one because he's tore his hamstring, so he'll be out probably until the summer, and then if he does get a move to whoever he does go to, when his contract expires, then then he's probably played his last game as well. Two players that look like they might be playing is Tim Boonham and James Garner, who started in the game at the King Power. Eric Boonham's been injured since that game, actually.
Really?
Yeah, and he's a bit of a funny one. He started out quite well, but he seemed to play well in the games we played, but we seemed to ship 2 and 3 goals in every one of them, so he's one I'm interested in. But, losing Mangala was a big one, because it's a bit similar. We've had a similar process to you in that the Tottenham game was a fantastic... We beat Tottenham. We were 3-0 up at half-time against Tottenham, and it was a fantastic morale boost for everyone at the club. The players actually got clapped off at half-time, which is the first time that's happened in a long, long time. Then, going into the Brighton game, there was a bit of a feeling of, we might be able to get something here. And we finished that game with 9 men. Mangala and then at the end, I think it was Beto, had to come off, and we had no substitutes left, but we still managed to hold on to the point. So this game against Leicester is very much, like you said for yourselves, a bit of a different one in that we're going to have to... It's a team that we're not playing up. Leicester are very much on our level this season. Whereas Brighton and Tottenham have performed better than us. Tottenham have completely fell off. Yeah. That it will very much be just I think it'll just be a bit of a sparring match, this one. I think it'll just be 2 teams going at it, just doing everything to try and get the ball in the net. For us, if we can win this one, I think, then it's you and the other 3 that are going to be battling it out. But to be honest, I think whoever finishes 17th will be a lot better than the other 3. Whether that's Wolves or Leicester, I think Ipswich and Southampton are down. Leicester, though, I'm just not sure about. And I know you've probably heard this a lot, Jack.
Yeah.
But it's Van Nistelrooy coming into it, and it's the same with Vitor Pereira as well. Could you pick 2 managers that who are less suited to a relegation dogfight than Ruud van Nistelrooy, who's never managed, and Vitor Pereira, who's played abroad, trying to play a certain moniker of football. And I know there's the option to go in and get one of them relegation dogfight managers, but you and I both know that as soon as you stay up, people are talking about how well you've done. And to be honest, you've got to start looking a bit ahead. And I think Leicester have taken a risk that if they do stay up this season, then Van Nistelrooy will have had 6 months with the team to go into next season with a bit more of an idea. It's just that, is it going to be Leicester or Wolves where you're thinking, that was a bad decision because now they're going down, they're going to have to change the manager again to try and get back up. So it's a bit of a 50-50 one, I think, at the minute, the relegation battle. I think we're still in it. If we can win on Saturday, we're looking really good to try and push up into mid-table.
I think with Leicester, it was always about adapting to the league. Obviously, you look at what happened with Sheffield United, Luton and Burnley last season, where they really struggled, didn't they, to get anything going in the league. And it seems nowadays that the gulf from the Championship to the Premier League is getting bigger season by season. And I think this is where Leicester knew it'd be a challenge. Obviously, PSR has been on our back for bloody ages now with the Premier League and that. We got away with that at the start of the season, and then they tried coming back for us again, and then nobody ended up getting anything done to them at that point. But Ruud's appointment it was always a gamble. I mean, every manager bringing in a football club is a gamble. If they can do well, if they don't, and you never know what's going to happen. But I think, to be fair, Ruud has had to come in and really dig deep with his resources here. He's had to change the football again. We've gone from Enzo Maresca football to Steve Cooper ball to Van Nistelrooy ball. But then Van Nistelrooy likes to play the way Enzo Maresca did. So he's having to get the players back to some sort of normality. And I think they're starting to do that gradually. And I think you're really starting to see players improve, like your El Canuses, your Samares. I think the only big thing I think with Leicester's worry is defence. Defence has been a massive crisis for us this season, and that's where we've made so many mistakes and conceded so many goals of our own doing. It's thinking to yourself, yeah, we should have been doing better in them positions. But goalkeeper Matt Hermanson looks to be back for this one. Obviously, he's played a pivotal part for Leicester this season before he got injured. But I think Jamie Vardy, Everton seem to love to play against Jamie Vardy, don't they? They're a bit of banter between him and them, and I think that's maybe he'll look at it at the weekend and think, if I can get one there and start chanting about my wife and this, that, and the other, then maybe I can upset a few of them. But yeah, it's always good banter in it, with players that you give it them and then they'll get you back, and then it's good. But I think this is a game where we've got to, like you say, it's going to be a grudge match, isn't it? It's going to be who wants it more and who's going to be the better team on the day. I think it'll be a battle between the two sides. I think midfield's going to be key. Njayi for you. He seems to have a phenomenal season for you lot this season. He seems to be your very vocal player in the team, Njayi, and he's obviously scored last time at the KP. And he looks to be getting better game by game for me. And I think he's the player that Leicester's really got to look out for me. But where do you look at it for Leicester? Where do you think who can hurt Everton? Where's your strong points and your weak points?
A massive problem for us, the last sort of I'd say maybe a couple months, but I think it's been longer than that, is at left back for us. We're absolutely poor at left back, and Vitaly Mykolenko has just he's stunk the place out every time he seems to play for us at the moment. So for me, it's going to be the likes of El Kanous and Reed and Ayew, who are can take a bit of, can take an advantage of that and get balls in the box, because it's very easy to get balls in the box with Mykolenko. He just seems to always be 5 odd yards away from the closest winger at all time. He never seems to get touch tight to anybody. And I think that's the real part of our team that we struggle with. So for me, left back, we've had Jake O'Brien coming in at right back, and he sort of solidified up that right-hand side. You'll remember it was Ashley Young, and as good as Ashley Young is at coming on and holding out in a game, he's not Premier League starting quality anymore. But Jake O'Brien's come in, started out of position at right back with Jesper Lindstrom on the right, and our right-hand side's being a bit rejuvenated. The thing is, though, is Ndiaye, you mentioned before, seems to be working 2 roles at the moment on the left. And it's really important that we can solidify up that left-hand side. The funds are there, and we're trying to make signings, but at the moment it seems that front men are the priority. Carlos Alcaraz, honestly, I know absolutely nothing about him. So I've literally loaded up Twitter before coming onto this and seeing that apparently he's signing for Everton. So I don't know what kind of player he is. I'm sure I'll probably have to speak to someone at Southampton to learn a bit more about him and what he's like. But for me, we need a left back. Honestly, Jack, we're absolutely desperate for a left back, and we're desperate for a front man as well. So they're the two problems lying with Everton at the moment by far.
I tell you what, I've got 2 players for you if you want a left back and a striker. We'll give you Luke Thomas. Maybe we can offload him. And then we've got another one for you, Clibo's put in there, Patson Daka. Everton's been linked with him in the last few days. Would you take Patson Daka off our hands, Stephen, at Everton?
You using the word "take him off your hands" has put me off, I'm afraid. But do you know what? I'm Patson Daka is one of those players that would loads of Evertonians would be made up with him, and then he'd come in and he wouldn't do anything. So, a lot of Evertonians jump at players. They look at them and go, "Oh, they're fast. They've scored. Remember that goal he scored against us, and it'll be the only goal that they've ever scored in the league." So, I personally, I want Evan Ferguson from Brighton. He's the one that I really want. I think he's got a bit of promise and he looks like he could be one for the future. We could train him up and get him to play our style away. When it comes, left backs are so much harder. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we were spoilt with Leighton Baines and Luca Dean, and then Benitez, who was in a lot of ways our Steve Cooper, come in. Hated for his relationships with the rivals coming in, seemed to just ruin the club for 6 months and then get out. Benitez was like that for us, and he came in and he got rid of James Rodriguez and Luca Dean. So we need to get a left back in, because right now I think that's the place where I'm looking at going. That's where the water's getting in. That's where the leak is, and I'm looking at it going. For someone like Jordan Ayew, could be a good afternoon for him if he can get the burdens of Mikalenko early.
I mean, I was hoping Mavididi would do that when we played you last time, with Ashley Young. I was hoping we'd get it Ashley Young more than we did. Like I say, he's not Premier League level anymore. He's there to be got at, but it just doesn't seem, when Leicester look at these players, to think, you're hoping that you'd actually get at these fullbacks, because you've seen what they've been like in previous games. You think you can see the weaknesses and they're there to be exploited. But with Leicester, it's just we back off, we don't get at them enough, and then you're giving them an easy afternoon where they can just put the feet up because they think, these Leicester players ain't going to run at me, But Simon, I should be finishing the next 10 minutes or so. But Terry's got a question for you regarding thoughts on Sean Dyche. How did you think his tension went at Everton?
Do you know what? Sean Dyche was like... Sean Dyche... there's loads of analogies I've used for Sean Dyche.
Brexit.
It reminded me a little bit of... Sorry?
Brexit ball is what they used to call it.
Yeah.
I don't think you're at the same Everton.
Do you know what? In the first sort of period of his time at Everton, he was a lot better than what people gave him credit for. It reminded me, what my real problem with Sean Dyche is, we were rubbish, right, for the last sort of 6 months. He forgot how to defend. He forgot how you didn't know where the next goal was coming from. And all we ever had was opposition fans telling us, you shouldn't sack Dyche, he'll keep you up. And I just thought, what evidence is there that Sean Dyche was going to keep Everton in the division? When he took Burnley down, we couldn't buy a goal. All the players were getting injured in training. He was stinking the place out in his press conferences, using the same little buzzwords that he used every week. Playing the same team every week, never changing it. I mean, he bought Jake O'Brien for 20 million from Leon, and then played Ashley Young in his place. For 39-year-old Ashley Young in his place for 6 months. And if it wasn't for the fans, a lot of the players are better players now, wouldn't have played. The likes of Njai, he come in, he didn't like Njai when he came in. He was playing Jack Harrison instead. And we had to physically boo his substitutions to get him to make him understand, you are losing us points, you're throwing points away. And had we have not had him at the King Power, I think we would have won that game, because he'd go 1-0 up and sit back and wait and absorb pressure for 80 minutes. And that's not how you play football. It was Sunday League at times. It was throw everyone at it, try and stop the ball going in our net. There was no out ball. There was no option to try and get the ball up the pitch. But it seemed like every fans of other clubs who watched us twice a season when their team played us seemed to have a better idea of our club than we did. That Sean Dyche should have stayed. He would have kept you up. I don't think he would have, Jack. I think if Sean Dyche was still at this club, then we'd have been, 17th, 18th right now, and this would be a very, very different football match we're talking about.
Yeah, this is a really significant game, this one. We've got to be at our best, though. I mean, we've got to defend well. I mean, we defended really well against Spurs. They still had good players on the pitch, didn't they? Obviously, Richarlison is a good player. He always loves to score against Leicester. Son, and them types of players who can score in games and win on points. But then Leicester, I think against Spurs, we adapted to the game quite well. We slowed the game down when we needed to, and we frustrated the hell out of them. And maybe that's something we have to do against you lot. When you lot start to pick up the pace, we've got to slow it back down again and really get more into this game. Because the thing is, your threat's there. And like I spoke about, Njayi and players like that who can cause a nuisance. I don't know what your thoughts on Beto is. I know there's been rumours and speculation regarding his future. I think he's like, what is he, second or third striker at Everton, or what's that in Beto?
Well, he's first choice now because Calvert-Lewin and Broja are both injured, so we've had rotten luck with injuries. To be honest, he's Bambi on ice, Jack. He can't trap a ball. He can't run with the ball. He seems to not really be able to get on the end of things. The goals he has scored for Everton have been tap-ins and, ones where he's... Yeah, the one thing he can't fault him is his effort. And he's used his effort to get into areas to score. But he's not going to do it in the Premier League, I don't think. And it's a real shame because it just seems to be the constant process now with Everton strikers or players in general. They just come in and they look all right and then they just can't seem to be able to do it. I was hoping for a bit more from him under Moyes and maybe for the rest of this season. I think he'll probably leave at the end of this season if his career keeps going the way it is. I'm hoping Moyes can get a bit more out of him, but I don't think David Moyes is too fond on him. But the sort of the thoughts from Everton on Beto is that he's just probably not good enough to play at this level.
Yeah, fair enough. We played well against Palace and Fulham for 45 minutes, then fell asleep. I mean, we can't be doing that at this weekend, Terry. We've got to be playing well for 90 minutes. I've got a stat for you, Stephen, ahead of this one. Of all Premier League fixtures to have been played on at least 30 occasions, none have seen as many draws as Everton versus Leicester. With 17 of the 35 meetings ending level, a percentage of 49%.
I'd take a draw this weekend. I would. I think if we can get a draw this weekend, while it's not the best, I think that does a lot more for us than it does for Leicester.
Yeah, we need to win.
Yeah, Leicester need to win this game. If we can get a draw this weekend, say for example we're 1-0 down, we come back and get a goal, I'll be fairly happy with a point because it'll just keep us away from there. Why I want to win? Because I think Tottenham are rubbish and I think we can go above Tottenham. If we win tomorrow, we'll go above Tottenham. So that for me...
Do you think they're in a relegation battle?
I don't think so, Jack, I'll be honest with you. I think there's too many teams that are bad. Let's be honest, two of the places are gone already. Neither Ipswich or Southampton are going to be able to get out of it, I don't think. They're on 24 points. If we win tomorrow, we'll go 15th, 2 points ahead of them and a point behind West Ham.
For that, though.
The thing then is that, the likes of Wolves and Ipswich have got to beat Tottenham.
Yeah.
Tottenham have got to keep losing, and I think the money that they've got, and I think they'll find their points from somewhere. Brentford next is a very tough game. They've then got 2 cup games. They've then got Man United, which could go either way. They've then got to go away to Ipswich. I think, for me, Tottenham... It's a little... I think they've just been jammy enough to get out of it here. A couple more bad results and they would have been right down there. But I think, to be honest, the Ipswich and Southampton, I've taken them 2 bottom spots for me. Yeah, I think it'll be between Wolves and Leicester. And I don't want to talk too soon about us. If we can get maybe 2 or 3 more wins, I think we'll be fine. But... I think for Tottenham, they really do need to wake up a bit and smell the flowers and realise you can't keep playing this way. He is taking them down, and I think Tottenham fans have every right to be upset about it. The money they've spent, the new stadium, and they're down there slogging it with us. So I think they have every right to be upset. They want to be challenging for Europe, don't they? And they're in Europe now. But let's be honest, when they get later on into the competition and they're playing, a seasoned Europa League team home and away in a semi-final or something like that, are they going to be able to have some steel and go through? I don't think so, because I don't think they look like they've got any steel in the team. I think it's a massively underrated currency in football nowadays, that having players who can show up, keep hold of the ball and win your matches, rather than just having players that perform the best on paper.
Yeah, Spurs. There's always the cliche, aren't there? You're never too good to go down. You've seen it with bloody Leicester in 2023 with the squad we had. We went down, and you're thinking, nah, surely not with that team. And we did, and then we had to sell like most of our players, like your Barneses, your Madisons, and them types of players left. And then now we've had to go into a new sort of phase with the squad that we've got now compared to what we had back then. And then football changes massively, doesn't it, through either good or bad. I think
that's the point I was trying to make earlier on in the video. Sorry to jump in there. I think how I mentioned, like your Madisons and your Barneses.
Yeah.
When you go down, you have to get rid of them. I'm now looking at it, and I think I realised in that game at the KP that this is a much different Leicester side with a lot of different qualities in it. And I think that was sort of the answer that I was trying to give when you asked me earlier, the difference in the Leicester that went down 2 years ago.
I think Arteta's be up for this one, though, after that huge win over Spurs. I mean, to break that duck the way we did was just tremendous. But let's have a look at the last 5 at Goodison Park. I mean, you lot have won 1, 2 wins for Leicester, 2 draws. Everton and Leicester seem to have a lot of goals in it. I remember the one where we beat you last time, 2-0. That was a cracking game, wasn't it, for a Leicester perspective? I mean, them two sides were down there back then, weren't they? Everton and Leicester, fighting in this relegation battle. And then Leicester got the upper hand. I think we hit a bit of form then. Tielemans scored the absolute belter past Jordan Pickford. And then Barnes secured the 3 points in the second half. But I think this is a real challenging game. I think last time was a good performance from us. Obviously, different squad back then to, like I said, now. But we need our quality to show in the game. We need the El Canuses to take the games to Everton, the Samares, the Winkses, the players like that. I think if we can have Mads Hermansen back in goal, that's a massive boost for us. And then if Jamie Vardy can put his chances away, then I think that'll be key as well. But I think in these type of games, it's about who takes the chances. And, I think that first goal in this type of game is going to be crucial.
Yeah, I'm just looking there at that game. It was under Frank Lampard, so it's pretty much gone out my memory now. I think most of that season's gone out my memory, that 2-0 game. But I mean, looking at the team we had out there, Connor Cody now at Leicester, Seamus Coleman.
What happened?
I'm not sure what it was. I think he probably wanted to play a bit more football. But Connor Cody was a really good player for us, and I really liked him, and I wanted him to stay, but I think he wants to be a starter, to be honest. A midfield 3, we had a Wobie playing there, Onana, and a Idrissa Gueye. And then Damari Gray, I think a former Leicester player.
Former Leicester player.
Yeah, and then, of course, Dwight McNeil and Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Players that have played for both clubs. Marcus Bent, another one.
I've got a list here if you want them. I used it for my video the other day.
We've got a few older heads watching as well, so I'm sure they'll be listening.
Yeah, there's actually a couple. I spoke to a Leicester fan yesterday as well. And so you got you got your Michael Keane, which is he's welcome to go back anytime you want him. Connor Cody, you mentioned, Damari Gray, Marcus Bent. He was one going back a bit before my time.
Yeah.
Yakubu, arguably the best of the lot. What a player he was.
I mean, I think we had him on from you lot, didn't we, Everton? And then we seen like the best of Yakubu that season. We'd signed him on loan, and then I think in the end of it was like we wanted to sign him for like £5 million. We were going to pay the transfer fee. It was the wages problem that stopped us from signing him, and I think that was down to the player himself with the wages. He weren't happy with. He wanted more. And it was just like, well, we're not going to pay you anymore. But what a sort of 6 month we had with Yakubu.
Oh, he was a fantastic player. I mean, he was at Portsmouth, I think, before us. And he was banging them in. I think he got 20 goals in his first season at Portsmouth. There's a really famous Harry Redknapp story that he tells about promising him £20,000 if he scores 20 goals. And he scored I think he scored a hat-trick on the last day, and he come in with his head in his hands because it was only took him to 19 instead of 20, and he didn't get the 20 grand. But he come to us, and we saw the exact same. He banged them in for Everton, and then he did his ACL, and he was out for about a year. And then we didn't. He come back, and he was he struggled to get to that same goal-scoring level, and he was obviously at Leicester and Blackburn. Jermaine Beckford's another one. I think he spent a year. Yeah, spent a year on loan at Everton. Sort of really as the replacement for Yakubu in a lot of ways. That he came in. Yakubu was still at the club, but he was sort of still a bit injury prone. And Jermaine Beckford was signed by David Moyes. Scored a really famous goal against Chelsea, but he actually still lives in Liverpool now. As far as I know, Jermaine Beckford, but he was another good one. Tom Cannon recently went to Sheffield United and completely cut off any ties he's got with Everton when he announced he was a Liverpool fan. So,
how much do you lot get from that transfer? I mean, we've sold him for like £10 million in transfer.
I'm not sure. Do you know what? Knowing Everton, we're probably not going to get anything. We'll probably have to pay you lot.
I think it's 25% you lot get for what you put in at the time.
Well, you never really got a look in at Everton. I can't remember him ever playing for us, to be honest. And then he went to Leicester.
He was at Preston, wasn't he? And then come back to you.
He was at Stoke. I think he was at Stoke this season as well.
Yeah.
And then he's gone to Sheffield United. To be honest with you, Jack, he's probably just not good enough to play Premier League football. And he's gone to Sheffield United. He was linked to come back to Everton. He didn't. And then he said, yeah, I'm a Liverpool fan. And I'm like, why am I not surprised? First Anthony Gordon and now him. Tom Cleverley is another one I didn't know played for Leicester, but he was a pretty decent player for us. Mola Luckman as well. He's gone on to greener pastures.
We missed out massively on him. You know, we could have signed him for about £10 million after we had him on loan. I thought, you know what? I'd take him at Leicester all day. He wanted to sign for Leicester that summer. He was happy enough to come, but Leicester were like, yeah, we kind of can't afford you here. And then you're thinking to yourself, how can we not afford Animo Luckman for £10 million? And then you look at the career he's had now at Atalanta. What a player. I mean, did he score like a hat-trick or something in the final?
I think he did. To be honest, I think with Luckman, he was very young when he played for us. He scored in his debut against Man City. And I think it was a bit of a confidence issue with him being so young. I think he likes the game. I think the game probably suits him out there in Serie A, but I'm made up for him. I think he's done really well, and I wanted to see more of him at Everton. And then James Vaughan. James Vaughan played for both clubs as well. Everton's youngest ever goal scorer, I think. He scored the winning goal in my first ever game that I ever went to, so holds a special little place in my heart for James Vaughan. But another one, he scored a penalty against Man United in the semi-final. It took us to the FA Cup final as well. So, yeah, he's one. I think he's at Tranmere Rovers now, not far from here, just up the road. But, yeah, James Vaughan, he's another one who got injuries, I think, with Everton. And he sort of had to go and find somewhere else.
He scored many goals here when we had him on. So it's interesting when you talk about former players, then you bring back how they played for your club and then how they played for the other team, and then you think, well, that's mad. Some work out better at one club than they do at another, though, don't they? They can be fantastic at, say, Leicester. They'll go to Everton and you think, yeah, what a fantastic player this is. And then you just think, yeah, what a waste of money. At the end, you think that this player ain't the player we signed. I think that's how football works. I mean, Lookman was the one who about the first. Yeah, I like Lookman. I like many players who's played for us, and it's interesting because I like to do that type of thing, you know, like
sorry, Jack, cut out there. It was my.
I like the footy.
I cut out there. It was my Wi-Fi.
Different players. And
yeah,
it's mad.
It's nice seeing it. It's nice seeing the how sort of. Yeah, no, it's nice seeing what other people think of, because a player can be amazing for you and then go to a different club. I know if I spoke to a Tottenham fan and I mentioned Richarlison for us, let's be honest, in terms of this century, he's one of the best we've ever had. And he's really an icon at Everton now. And but I know if I spoke to a Tottenham fan, it'd be very, very different.
Starting 11. I mean, you spoke about injuries earlier on with Calvert-Lewin and Mangala. Some would look at Dwight McNeil and that as well going into this one. But how do injuries look for Everton, and how do you think David Moyes approaches this with the team he puts out in the starting 11?
I think the best way to go with it from the start would probably be to take the same team, try and do like for like. So Beto to come in probably for Calvert-Lewin, and probably Tim-Eric Boonham to come in for Orel Mangala. They're the only changes that I can really foresee happening now. Jake O'Brien at right back. Possibly. I don't think he'll go with the back three. So I think it'll be Tarkowski and Branthwaite at centre-back with Mikalenko on the left. I think it'll be Lindstrom, Garner Gay, Eric Boonham and Ndai with Beto up front. I think I might have missed a player out there as well. But I think, to be honest, it'll pretty much be the exact same lineup that we went to. There we go. Gary Lineker as well, of course.
Yeah.
That got missed out on my list. But yeah, he's probably the most famous player to play for both clubs, isn't he? We've missed him out. He was a top player for us as well, Lineker. I think he got like 30 or 40 goals in the one season. But it was just after the European ban on clubs being in Europe. So he went to Barcelona. And then he won the Champions League. So I think he won the Champions League. So you can't really blame him for that. But no, he was Andy Gray's replacement. Also played in the Midlands for Wolves. Yeah. He came in and replaced Andy Gray at Everton. And really, we didn't win the title that season.
Yeah.
Yeah, before I was born. We didn't win the title. We won the title a year before. We were league champions and we signed Lineker. And it was between us and Liverpool, and he picked us. And he'd just come through. He was a youngster, really, at Leicester.
Yeah.
He scored a lot of goals for Everton. He didn't score for like the first 6 games, and then he scored, I think, 30 in the next 35 games. And he was brilliant for us, but he just had to leave to go to play in the Champions League. So yeah, it was a real shame with Gary Lineker, and he always says that Everton's the best team he played for. That team that he played for under Howard Kendall. He then left, and then we won the league the season that he left again. And he always says that's the best team that he played for. But I've got a real soft spot for Gary Lineker. I love seeing, because the way he talks about Everton, makes me a bit teary-eyed when he talks about the good old days.
I think he played for Barcelona as well.
Yeah. It's really forgotten how good he actually was, Gary Lineker. I think a lot of people forget about it, but in terms of us for tomorrow, I mean, it's going to be a question. A lot of Everton fans are talking about not having Abdoulaye Doucouré in there. It might be a change. There might be a change there. If Eric Boonham comes in, if James Garner comes in, maybe he drops Abdoulaye Doucouré. He's been very angry. Doucouré's been rubbish all season, Jack. And then last couple of games, Doucouré's been the exact same. Giving ball away, missing chances. And you can just see Moyes on the touchline screaming at him. So this might be the chance for him finally to take him out and maybe bring in someone like James Garner or young Harrison Armstrong as well from the academy who played against Peterborough.
See, that's the type of game I want to see. A Doucouré and Samora midfield battle. The battle of the two big men. That's the kind of midfield battle I want to see on the weekend. And both of them like to win the ball. Both of them are strong and powerful to hold up that ball. And I just want to see them two get at it the weekend in midfield, because that'd be a real difference.
Doucouré now though plays a bit further forward. He plays like a number 10.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you, Jack. If I was a Leicester fan, I'd be hoping that Abdoulaye Doucouré was playing as well, because he can't dribble. It's like he's playing netball sometimes. He can't run with the ball. Gives it away far too much. The only really good aspect of his game is he pops up with the odd goal, but honestly, I don't know how he made it. As a professional footballer, sometimes I watch him. It's unbelievable the amount of games he has played for us. But he's been poor all season, and he was the one I missed out in that when I named our team before. And to be honest, I'm not surprised he was the one I missed out, because he's just been so forgettable.
I think Leicester's 11. I mean, Matt Hermanson could return to goal this weekend, so
that's one that you lot are really hopeful for, isn't it?
I'd bring him back in, if I'm honest, because he's a key goalkeeper. I mean, Stolosic has been fantastic since Mads has been away, so a man of the match performance against Spurs for him were phenomenal. I think you can't look past Matt Hermanson in this. You've got to put him back in, but obviously he's been in rehab and that regarding his injury and that, getting back to his best and that. So hopefully we can see him in goal at the weekend. I think the back four. See, I'd bring Koulibaly in for Christensen and put Justin out on the left-hand side, because I think that'd be an interesting one. Midfield, I think he's going to stick with Winks and Samore, because that worked well against Tottenham. Bobby De Cordova-Reid, I think he deserves to keep his place after that performance against Spurs. I mean, I think, to be fair, I'd leave Mavadidi on the bench. I think El Kanous, Jordan Ayew, I mean, he's probably the preferred option to go into this game as well. I mean, you can't fix things that aren't broken, can you, from the last game? You've got to keep it consistent. Jamie Vardy will start as expected. But yeah, I think that's my 11. I think the only one I'd really change is goalkeeper and then left back. So yeah, 2 changes from me. He probably will keep with Stolosic maybe, and then play Hermanson next week against Manu in the court. But yeah, it'd be an interesting one to see what Root does in this game and how he approaches this one as well. Because like I say, every game's different. You play in the Premier League, different opposition, different ways of playing, and how you stop them teams. And every team has different strengths and weaknesses. So we'll see how this one goes. Stephen, I've got one last question for you. Score prediction.
All week I've said 2-0, because I think if we can get one in the first half, it'd be a tough game. But I think we should have too much with the likes of Ndai, and if Lindstrom plays well as well, it's just missing Calvert-Lewin. That'll be a big issue for us.
Yeah,
it's a tough one to predict, honestly, and I never like predicting Everton games because I'm never confident enough to predict Everton games. But do you know what? 2-0, I'd be absolutely amazed up with that. It's all going to be in the midfield, played in the midfield this game. And I think Ndai, if Ndai can play well and get a goal, he could get 2. And then if he can get 2, we can just hold on. this game is the one that I'm looking at now for the rest of the season going, this is it now. If we can win tomorrow, then we can relax and play good football for the rest of the season and just try and slowly pick up more points and just keep topping it up. But I've gone 2-0 all week, but Jamie Vardy worries me, especially at Goodison, because the crowd at Goodison's horrible, honestly. Like, when we're playing well, away fans hate Goodison. When we're playing badly, home fans hate Goodison. So it's a tough one, honestly, Jack. What do you think? Do you think you can get 3 points out of this one?
I think if we can win this game, we can push further on. You know, it puts pressure on Wolves and Ipswich and that, doesn't it, again, to go and win their games again. So
who were Wolves playing this weekend, you know?
Wolves got Aston Villa away, at home. So
that's a tough one, isn't it? That's also a massive derby as well.
And Ipswich have got Southampton at home. So maybe Southampton does us a favour. I know you've got to do your own thing in football. You can't look at other teams and expect them to do you favours. But if they can, fantastic. If they can't, then so. Do you know what
though? It's if you're if you enjoy watching the relegation battles every season, this is a great weekend for you, isn't it? You know, you've got all of them sort of. You know, you've got 4 of the bottom 5 playing against each other.
Yeah,
and then Wolves have got a massive home derby. So yeah, it should be a good weekend of footy, hopefully.
No, I think this one will be a game we can go and win if we can play it our best and we can get the confidence levels up and the players can go and get at Everton and cause you a lot of problems. I think we can go and score in the game, and I think Vardy's obviously going to be the one that you keep an eye on. I know what Vardy's like at Goodison. He does score. I remember the 1-0. I think it was it New Year's Day 1 year? Vardy scored, didn't he? The 1-0 win.
Do you know what? Anything sort of after Leicester won the league and now, I just completely forgot about. Unless it's from my childhood, it's like Groundhog Day every season at Everton. Vardy. If Vardy can score, he'll wind the crowd up in it, and then for Leicester it should be about seeing it out. But
I'll tell you what, I'm going to go 2-1.
Okay, I think.
So I'm going to go 2-1 to us.
What I'm really worried about, Jack, is the new manager bounce, and I want to believe that this 6 points we've got in the last 2 is not a new manager bounce, but it probably is.
Yeah.
And the injuries we've got. I mean, it's hard to describe really how big Orel Mangala's been this season for us. Calvert-Lewin had just started playing well again, and now he's finished. So it's a tough one. If we had a full-strength team, I'd be way more confident. But these games are never easy to predict, and there's always one every week that surprises you. So I think this might be the game this week that's either like super high scoring or we can play really well, or we can play really bad. So it's impossible to predict.
It is. This is a big game for both sides. You know, it can really change each season. You know, for the better. But I mean, this is a game we have to go and win. I think these are the types of games we look at going to get 3 points out of. I mean, we did it to KP last time, but then that kind of failed, to be fair. And you guys have got a bit of pressure going into this, though, haven't you? I mean, if you win, then you go 3 straight wins. But then you look at yourself, Leicester fighting in this relegation battle, and you think, this ain't really an easy game, because you can't overlook any opponent in the leagues, can you, when they're in these sort of relegation sort of fodder games, and you know anything can happen in these games, can't they? When
do you know what anything can happen, but one factor that we haven't mentioned all and through this whole video is our next 2 matches after this is we've got Bournemouth in the cup on next weekend, and then the next game after that is the dreaded Merseyside derby. So that's our next league game here. So if we get a suspension or something here, it's a bad time to get one. We beat them last season at Goodison. First time I can really remember in my lifetime was beating them.
Did it cost them the title last season?
We like to think it did, but Do you know what? If we can, last year we went on a mad run in December and we won 4 on the bounce.
Yeah.
Then we did it again in April. I'm hoping this year we can win 4 on the bounce, including tomorrow in Liverpool. We can win 4 on the bounce in January, and then hopefully do it again in May and give Goodson a good send off. But yeah, that one I'm worried about. That's next Wednesday night. And I mean, let's be honest, like, no one likes Liverpool. Everyone's going to be rooting for Everton to win that game, but it depends whether we can do it. The very last derby at Goodison Park, and a fun little statistic to go into it. Everton have won 41 derbies at Goodison Park. Liverpool have won 41 derbies at Goodison Park. So whoever wins that one is has got the ultimate bragging rights. But so yeah, that's one that we're going to be already having an eye on now going into tomorrow. So that's it's a tough one, but we need to get some form going together for that game already.
Yeah, let's hope Leicester's last ever visit to Goodison Park ends been a win then. So and then you lot can go and focus on the Merseyside derby in a few weeks' time. So yeah, you can go put your feet up until then. But no, thanks for coming on, Stephen. Do appreciate it.
No worries.
Everybody know where they can find you, man. What you do regarding Everton Football Club.
Yeah, Toffee Blues on YouTube. We're also known as Everton News Feed as well on X. We've got a fair few followers. I think we're on about 50,000 now. So we're fairly big. If you search up Everton News on Twitter, it'll be one of the first that come up, really. So yeah. So yeah, it absolute pleasure. I mean, we've already done our preview with a different channel, the one that we always work with for Leicester stuff. But I wanted to come on today and do it. I love doing the lives. I love interacting with the chat. So I came on today to speak to Jack. Very happy that you've had me on, Jack. It's really nice to come on and speak to you. So yeah, go and see our channel. Hopefully we can have the final whistle on Toffee Blues a bit more in the future. And of course, enjoy. If you're going to Goodison this weekend, enjoy it. The final time. I'm sure you'll be hoping that you get the win there for the final time. But yeah, it's a very emotional one. It's a tough one to take. But yeah, there's plenty of content on the Toffee Blues about Goodison Park if you want to go and have a look on there.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming on, and all the best after tomorrow, Stephen, for the rest of the season, pal.
You too, guys. Thank you for having me on.
Cheers,
enjoy
mate.
the game.
Thank you. That was Stephen Hornby from the Toffee Blues. Yeah, thanks for everyone who's clicked in. Thank you to great show. See you tomorrow or Sunday, Jack, for the matchday vlog. Well, the matchday vlog will be after tomorrow's game, so I'll get that out as quick as possible. If you've enjoyed this stream, hit the like button for me. Subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this on playback, go and let me know your score predictions and what your thoughts are ahead of this one. It's the 6-pointer clash at Goodison Park as the Foxes visit Goodison for the very last time ever before they move to Bramley Moor. So yeah, match day vlog out Saturday. We've got Man United next week, so I might do a little preview for that, for the Cup. And yeah, Man United away after this one. And yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, the Foxes can go and pick up a big win. Go and check out my recent one, press conference and transfer news. Akpom, I believe, is going to Lille. And yeah, see what Rude had to say in his press conference as well. But thanks for watching. Take care. Have a great rest of the evening, whatever you're up to. Up the Foxes. Keep it at the final whistle. Good night. Hi all. Thank you for watching the final whistle. If you enjoy all our content, please remember to smash a like, share, and subscribe to the channel.